this ready. All right, it says I'm live. Let's make sure I'm actually live on Twitter. Yep, it says me and Avoiding Babylon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they're interviewing Sam Shamoon, which I think is probably going to be more interesting to the average person.
Dude, it was I watched it for a little bit. It was really good.
Yeah, me too. It was pretty good. He's a really interesting guy, and he talks really well too, and he's got an interesting story. He's a very unique personality.
Yeah, he is. He is. I love that he's on our side, though. It's a good addition.
Yeah, 100%. Well, especially because I had heard people that were scared whether or not Sam Shamoon was Catholic or whatever he was. I know he was kind of in between for a long time.
Mhm.
So I was listening to it. He confirmed, yeah, I'm for sure Catholic. So that was nice to hear.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty based. All right. So to get started, hey guys, welcome back to A New Crusade. Today I'm here with Anthony Campbell from the Latin Slaws podcast. He just started his podcast recently, and on his first, I guess, official episode, I bombarded his chat the whole time. So I managed to convince him to come on here and do a video with me. Hopefully I'll go on his show eventually. We'll probably do more videos in the future. But for now, we're starting off with doing a tier list. And we decided to do for fun, because neither of us are technically very qualified to talk about anything. And so because of that, dicking around is actually probably a better use of our time versus misrepresenting church teaching or other assorted bad things that we could do due to our ignorance.
So I said that was so real.
Yeah, so real. Yeah, exactly. So we're chilling right now. Give me 1 second. I'm going to double check one last thing, and then we'll get started on the tier list, and I think we should be good to go. Let's see here.
Although, I just got the Summa, so.
Oh yeah, how is that? You got this. So how much was the Summa?
I don't want to talk about it.
Was it more or less than $1,000?
Oh, less.
Was it more or less than $500?
Less.
Oh, okay. Then that's not terrible. That's reasonable.
It wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible. I think Matthias Shaban's Handbook of Dogmatics, the full set, was more than my Summa.
You said you need it for your degree, right?
I do, actually. Funny enough, like as much as I was joking, like kind of here and there about having it, like I actually do need it.
There you go.
Most of my classes are going to be reading from the Summa, so it helps having the physical copy.
There you go. Then it's just a business expense, right?
Precisely.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let's get started here. Let me try my best to, let's see here. How do I share my screen? Okay, I guess I need to change it and allow it to share my screen. 1 moment. Sorry.
No, dude, you're good. You're good. I was looking at
the nice thing is that I can edit it. So hopefully in the future, this will look fine.
I'll do that.
Okay. Can you see my tier list?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay. Well, as you can see, we have a intentionally wide variety of guests here. And I originally had it arranged pretty easily from like most popular trending towards least popular. And then I messed it up and I had to redo it. So instead, we are going to be looking here at, I guess we'll just do it. I'll still try to pick from that order, but we will, it's not organized down here, so we won't be going in order. So first things first, I think it makes the most sense to start with the king of YouTube, Mr. Matt Fradd.
Real.
I don't know, what tier are you thinking for Matt Fradd?
You see, Matt Fradd was so helpful in my conversion to Catholicism, right? And I'm watching Pints with Aquinas before I even became Catholic. But he's Byzantine.
Well, and he's not even the Byzantine that I am, where like I converted from nothing into being Byzantine. He left Romanism to become Byzantine. So that kind of makes it worse even.
And it makes it so much worse. He's not even like a good Byzantine. He's the UGCC. What is that?
Yeah, he's not even Ruthenian.
Yeah, he's not even Ruthenian. At least Ruthenians are like based. He's in like he's in the one where it's like, oh, I can't be too Catholic, more Catholic than the Pope, it seems. Joking.
Yeah.
That's like one of the that's one of the complaints I've heard against the UGC is that they're like afraid to be really kind of go back to their Orthodox roots, right, and have like all the smoke and incense and all that. But I'm gonna go with like in between A and B. In between A and B.
Well, I was thinking because he's the king, he had to be S tier, but since you said B tier, we'll place Matt Fradd in A tier.
Okay, there we go. That works. That works.
Yeah. I think that S tier is going to be hard to meet. I didn't put too many priests or prelates because I feel like then you kind of out of your subservient proper loyalty that you owe them, and you ought to put them higher than they might need to be. And I especially avoided controversial prelates for that reason. With
100%.
Slight exception. I should have put James Martin SJ, so we could have put him in our trash tier. But
yeah, that would have been easy.
Yeah. All right, so we're putting the king of YouTube or the king of podcasting YouTube, Matt Fradd, and now we should, I think next it only makes sense to do the king of webcam recorded YouTube, which I guess makes sense. We'll do Taylor Marshall next.
Taylor Marshall. Oh,
yes.
See, that's another one. That's a good one. He got me introduced to the Latin Mass when I started searching and stuff. So he's high up there for me. What about you?
So for me, I don't know him very much or very well. And so for me, I know that he basically, in combination with some SSPX people, but from a popular perspective, is almost solely responsible for the popular growth on like YouTube and such of the Latin Mass. I mean, obviously other people are responsible, but he's kind of the linchpin. And I owe him a lot of respect for that. But from what I can tell, I feel like he kind of picks fights and stuff like that. And I don't love that, but I guess everyone kind of does. It's kind of a catty group of people.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
No. I think the problem with him is he's got those he's got those clips. Like if you just clip it and you don't show anything else of the rest of the video, you're just like, oh, like that should not have come out of your mouth. Then you watch the full video and you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I've noticed that. St. Monica's Army says Taylor Marshall is S tier. I think just because he's so popular, and people have genuine critiques against Fradd too. Marshall's obviously more controversial than Fradd is, but I think he should be an A tier. He's not perfect, so S tier seems like a lot, but I think A tier is reasonable, especially since I would say I'm obviously not like a Taylor Marshall fanboy, and so because of that, I'm less captured by how wonderful he is.
That's true. I can get that.
So in my humble opinion, I think the first S tier, just due to pure number of Catholic conversions due to his videos, ought to be Mr. Redeemed Richard Dick Zoomer.
Catholic in disguise. Absolutely.
All right.
He's bringing those constant conversions over here.
I definitely, I mean, I would not single-handedly say that that Redeem Zoomer converted me, but his videos actually did definitely get me interested into consuming theological content. His stuff is really good. It's definitely pretty much as far onto the entertainment side of the entertainment information spectrum as you can go. Mm-hmm. But for how short his videos are, he does keep a lot of information in there, which is really good.
Heck yeah. Wait, I see this thing up here. It says stream this to your audience. Do you mind if I?
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem at all. Here, yeah, let's take a short break and I'll talk while you do that. So we're not really doing, this is pretty much just our opinions. This is not really we don't have like a reasoning set for every single, like it has to be like this or it has to be like that. We don't really have like a strict bracket's not the word. What is it called when you like not a rule set even? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm blanking on the word. But
talking about. Yeah.
But so we're playing kind of fast and loose with it. I would say generally for me, the amount of people that are converting or the effect that this person is or the effect this person has had beneficial is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And separately, I would say it's probably 50% that and 50% how much I like this person.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more like 30% their effect and 60-70% how much I like this person. It'll probably depend on each person, depending on how much I like them.
Yeah, you gotta go conversions. You gotta go, are they based? You gotta go, can they bench 225? How much do they annoy me?
Yeah, that's reasonable. And that is actually something in favor of both Matt Fradd and Taylor Marshall, is that despite their, crippling age, they are both in pretty good shape. So, they're both old geezers, but they've maintained their health, which I think is generally a sign of some virtue there.
Oh, 100%. I saw a picture of actually Taylor Marshall when he was wielding a sword. Like he posted that picture on Twitter with him and Trump. And I saw him and I was like, actually, he's kind of jacked for his age. Like he's kind of big.
Yeah, I saw that same photo and I actually thought kind of similarly to that as well. That's funny. All right. Let's do someone maybe a little bit not as fun, or maybe a little bit more controversial. That way we can start filling out the bottom. We're not just shooting everyone straight to the top. What are your thoughts on Mr. Michael Lofton?
Trash.
Trash.
I got okay. But with that's with like context. I got super into his reason and theology videos, like his old stuff, like a lot of his stuff he was doing a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And the longer I stayed watching him, the more I had to lie to myself, when it came to his arguments for the current pontificate and seemingly explaining like everything away. At first, I thought some of his arguments were okay, those are valid and I can see where you're getting that from. And then some of them were, that's just stretching it. that's just stretching it too. So trash.
Okay. I will add my reasons after we put him there. I think I agree. I don't, I think the first I heard of him was his interview with Matt Fradd, and he actually seemed like a pretty nice guy in that interview, and he has an interesting story. And I didn't even know about his show, like whatever drama or lack of drama there is with Eric Ibarra, who I forgot to put on this list, but who I respect a lot.
Yeah, I
love him. He has what used to do. I think that like suicidal Pope splaining is not good. And I think that you need to be honest to people. And you and I were talking about this earlier today, actually, that if you have to lie to people in order to defend the Pope's actions, then that's not a good thing. You ought to tell the truth and, you ought to never maliciously attack the Pope, but you ought to, speak as honestly as possible. And separately, I just think recently his stuff's gone down in quality. I haven't seen anything recently that's been impressive. It seems like he's kind of just become like a drama channel, and that's definitely not good. And it's a shame because I think he had the chance to make some interesting, put out interesting information, especially from the ex-Orthodox perspective.
Yeah, exactly. He initially had so much potential in going from essentially the attacking Eastern Orthodoxy for its arguments. And it seemed like he kind of just divulged into like these ad hominem attacks that, you see somebody like Luigi or other Orthodox make towards Catholics. And I'm not about that. I want actual arguments. I want something good.
Yeah, I agree. St. Monica's Army said, is Anthony from Avoiding Babylon on the list? Yes, Anthony from Avoiding Babylon is on the list. Let me look. I thought I put him on there. I might actually. I don't think he's in the list, but by the end, I will take him. Let me add him right now to the list because he's definitely here. Let's see.
Perfect. But it's a good list, though.
I think it's pretty solid, huh?
Actually, it would be so funny if you kept them off the list because you have Nick and Anthony Stein. And he would feel so slighted.
Oh, I don't know why that came in here. We'll ignore that. That's a picture of two trucks. I don't know why that came up. Let's see here. Here's Rob. We added him, and then let's add. There's Anthony. Okay, I forgot that I didn't have them in the same place that I had everyone else, so they did not get placed the same way. Now they're on here. Anthony from Avoiding Babylon is on here, St. Monica's Army. All right. Actually, speaking of him, let's do Anthony. Anthony from Avoiding Babylon. I think purely due to how much I like him / hate him, I'm going to put him in S tier.
I was gonna say he's got to go into S tier or A tier, but I was gonna put him in B tier because he's Italian.
Because he's what?
He's Italian. He purports the fake state of Italy.
Yeah, that's actually true. That is interesting. But St. Monica's Army says our only commenter so far says yes to Avoiding Babylon Anthony in S tier. Let's preface this. Obviously, Anthony has nowhere near the amount of conversions nor any positive impact on anyone. And so because of that, that's not why he's an S tier. He's an S tier because both Anthony and I want his attention and want him to put us on his show. And so because of that, we're being nice to him. Even though he's a dirty Dago Wop, and I want to carve New York City off the side of America and push it out into the ocean with him on it. And so,
constantly in those comments for them views.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and because he follows me on Twitter, so I give him some points for that, especially because I don't really think I say anything worth following on Twitter.
Dude, you got him to subscribe with the one Kennedy interview. That was amazing.
Yeah, I know, right? Dude, he just said we'll actually do him next. He just said, "Does anyone want to interview me?" And I thought, heck yeah, I want to interview him. All right.
I still really want to interview Kennedy as well. I do have a job that I need to keep. And I hate that that's the case, but yeah. I think I might still interview him.
Well, the nice thing is the way I interviewed him, and if you were to interview him in a similar way, is that with the exception of the conclusion of the video, we did not touch necessarily on his church political stances, for lack of a better term. And so I think it managed. I have multiple different friends who are pretty anti-SSPX, and they thought I did a good enough job kind of prefacing my conditional endorsement of his conclusions for the book. So I think I managed to toe the line pretty well. But what do you think for Kennedy? What tier should we put Kennedy in?
Oh, I really like Kennedy. I actually I have one of his books back here. I think it's his SSPX, The Defense. Because especially when, I started to get a little bit more traditional, I started researching a lot more, and his book came up. So I definitely would put him in A tier. I think it's that controversial. No, I just think it would be funny to pit him against Anthony, and I'd like to see them go at it in the comments because of this. So
that's fair. So as a fake Italian, we can put Kennedy Hall in the A tier.
Exactly.
I would have probably put him, and I feel bad saying this because he was really nice and let me interview him, but just because from pure level amount of his videos that I watch, I don't watch as much of his stuff. So I would have probably put him in the B tier, and because he has a smaller channel. But you know what? Because he was nice and let me interview him, and he's the reason that Anthony from Avoiding Babylon now follows me, then Kennedy can be in the A tier. I agree. All right. What do you think about John Doyle? Do you know John Doyle?
A little bit. When I lived in Steubenville, so when he went on Frad, I was at Jimmy John's when I watched Josiah pick him up from the hotel.
You were at a Jimmy John's like next to the hotel or something?
Yeah. So Franciscan has this really nice hotel, and I stayed in it when I first moved out to Steubenville. They have this really nice hotel just across the street from the campus, and then they have this nice little area where they have a sick Irish pub, and a couple of stores, and eventually Jimmy John's went in those stores. And I'm over there with my tree service guys, and I look over, I'm like, it's John Doyle. And when the podcast dropped, I was like, oh, that's cool. I saw Thursday pick him up and take him to the studio. So, however, some of his views you can get a little cringy sometimes. So I'd have to put him in a B or C tier, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think we should put him in C tier. I think that John Doyle has a medium-sized audience, and he manages to avoid, from a religious perspective, ever saying anything wrong that I've heard. I can't pick out anything that I would critique him on. Yeah. But because this is ultimately a political show, and from a political perspective, or it will eventually be from a political perspective, he's a little bit of a normie. I think he's a good gateway into to get out of the kind of Daily Wire pit, and I think he's a good kind of bridge between that and like non-liberal thought processes, I think. And so I think he's good, but yeah, I think he could definitely be better. He could probably be a little bit more Catholic, and he could probably be a little bit more politically based.
Yeah, a little less neocon.
Yeah. Although I will say he did a video on right analysis of horror movies from a right-wing perspective, and I've never seen any of the horror movies he named, but I thought it was a really good video.
That's fair. That's fair. Actually, I want to pick Frad and Kennedy. I realize that they're both Canadians, and as I think well, Frad's Australian, but at one point he was in Canada. As they were both in Canada, I think that means that they have to go down to D tier because no Canadian can be in an A tier.
I think you might be right. So, Kennedy, you are an A tier in our hearts, but your Canadianness makes you now a B tier in reality.
100%. Yeah.
So, adding to it, let's skip over to Mr. Josiah Thursday Steubenville, the producer on Pints with Aquinas. And I'll speak first. I actually was surprised. I just assumed he was a little bit of a line tower like Mr. Frad is. Although I suspected if you had a personal one-on-one conversation with Matt Frad and had dinner with him, he's probably a lot more based than he lets on. And the fact that I read some of Josiah Thursday Steubenville's tweets on X, and they were a lot more based than I think would be allowed to be said on Matt Frad as well. And so because of that, I think he's probably pretty based, but obviously his audience is contingent on Matt Frad, which kind of hurts him.
Yeah. Yeah. I would put Josiah at a C tier because he asked out my wife. So.
Ooh. Dang, that's awesome. I didn't even know that.
Actually, when she told me that, it made me like laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that like jealousy because I was like, oh, I actually think he's really cool. So now I have to not think that he's cool.
Was she your wife when he asked her out, or was that before?
That was before. So she was a barista at Leo's in Steubenville, and Josiah handed her his card, and she rejected him. But and then another guy came along, and after that guy, that's when I showed up. So
okay, there you go. Well, that works.
Yeah.
Note to anyone watching: probably don't hand a girl a business card if that's your way to try to get a date with her. I don't know if that's the smartest idea.
No, but I like other than that, I'm only joking. Like I think he should be in C tier for asking out my wife. That's just I have to do that. But yeah. I also agree. His tweets, I love his tweets.
Yeah, I respect you for saying that. I still think he said something I really didn't like about JD Vance today. I won't get into it, but so I'll keep him in C tier for that. All right, let's move on. How about you pick someone? Who do you think should go next?
Ooh, that's a great. Let's do a Minion.
All right, next up is Minion Thomist. Minion Thomist does not at all deserve to be on this list because even though his presence is bigger than mine, in comparison, he's by far the smallest person on this list. But
true.
The reason why I'm putting him on here is because in every single chat that I'm in, that he's in, I like to love bomb him and bother him. So I'm putting him on here so that I can continue to love bomb him.
There you go. See, I'm going to put Minion in most days. I think would go S tier, but in recent days, he's proving himself to be a fake sell. So I think he has to go into B tier for that.
I agree. I think that the Minion true sell, fake sell arc has led it to the point where, despite my love bombing of him, I'm not sure if I can discern whether or not he's a true sell. And until that's confirmed, then, no S tier.
Yeah, the B tier he goes.
Into the B tier he goes. All right, you pick the next guy too. Who do you think's best for next?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's do well, we did Minion, so now we have to do Wagner.
Okay, so now we do Minion's boss and slave master Christian B. Wagner.
Jason Catholic might be the king of the converts, but it seems these days that Wagner and Pine Sap are the king of the Zoomers. I've never seen such loyalty to an audience, like the audience, than in Wagner and Pine Sap.
I think that's accurate. Yeah. And I think obviously they're friends to some extent. Pretty sure they know each other pretty well. I like both of them a lot. Obviously they're kind of two sides of the same coin where they're both based politically and based on theology, but Wagner is just theology focused and and Pine Sap is kind of a mixture of theology and politics.
Yeah, he's pretty big in politics. More so than Wagner. Like Wagner doesn't really speak so much on that, but I Wagner, I'm gonna have to say goes in A or B for me because his videos on the Filioque and Eastern Orthodox have always been so helpful. They're like my go-to when it comes to trying to figure out other than Ibarra, right? Like other than Ibarra and Elijah Yassi, like he's my immediate go-to.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wagner A tier. Wagner puts out, I think, disproportionately the best quality content for how small his size is. I think that he probably deserves to have like 500,000 subscribers at least. And he has, I don't even think, more than like 50,000. So mad respect for him. He puts out some really high quality stuff. I actually agree with you that when I was deciding to convert and before I was 100% sure on Catholicism and I had been listening to like Jay Dyer and stuff like that, the first person I had ever heard that kind of pressed back against Dyerism, for lack of a better term, Eastern Orthodox, Calvinist apologetics, which is basically what Jay Dyer does, was Christian Wagner. And I thought he did it in a really great way. And that was super helpful for me. So A tier for Christian Wagner, or wait, that's B tier. He needs to go up. A tier for Christian Wagner.
A tier.
Okay, next, Pine Sap. Pine Sap, because he's controversial and I don't agree with everything he says, I'm going to say B tier, but he's pretty based on theology. He goes a little crazy on the Pope splaining sometimes, but I think he walks the line on almost everything pretty well.
Yeah, he does. There's a couple of things where I'm like, because when he really grinded my gears at first. Like when I first started like seeing him, he would make me so angry. I would just be like, dude, no. And especially because he doesn't lift, and sometimes he like gets like really, really serious about like he gets super serious about what do you want to call it, like crusading and stuff like that. I've seen like a couple of those videos where he's like, if America isn't Catholic by the time like I die, he's like, I have failed. And I'm like, dude, get in the gym, man. Like like I'll take you more seriously if you're built. Like so, but he actually has grown on me recently a lot. I really like, I just love how, even though sometimes he gets so controversial, he remains so steadfastly Catholic in much of what he does.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't know about his anti-lifting opinions. That kind of harms my unrequited love for Pine Sap. So
and
I think we should put him B tier.
Like terrible. He's not terrible on like lifting, but he definitely had like one when Fuentes, because Fuentes was saying like, lifting's gay, and like if you lift, like you're gay. And Pine Sap, instead of like critiquing it, he's just like, well, I mean, some of those bodybuilders are really into their. I'm like, dog, that's their job.
Well, I do agree with. So wait, let's just clarify for Fuentes, and we'll move on. Or let's clarify for Pine Sap, then we'll move on to addressing the Fuentes thing, and then we'll do Fuentes. I like Pine Sap a lot. His anti-lifting and the fact that he's so small, B tier. But actually, his debate with Orthodox Luigi and his public debates. I listened to him debate a white nationalist recently, like a pagan, anti-Christian white nationalist, and he really did a great job at defending the faith. The guy he was debating was saying he wouldn't want to be Christian because Black people go to heaven in Christianity, and Pine Sap absolutely obliterated him and completely held steadfast to the church teaching, and I think that was really excellent. So I definitely give him props for that, but he's small and he doesn't like to lift, so B tier is good.
Dude, I didn't know about that. That definitely raised him up in my mind.
Oh yeah, he did an excellent job. It was really great. All right, the most probably controversial person on this entire list, the king of anti-lifting, the Novus Ordo king. We have Mr. Nicholas J. Fuentes. Very, very controversial. Those of you who know anything about me will know that I don't have any problem with that. But obviously, he's probably one of the only people who that actually doesn't hurt his reach. What are your? I mean, you don't have to endorse him. I know you have a real job. So, what are your general thoughts?
Yeah, no, he grew on me a little bit. There's some things where I'm just like, oh, dude, you can't say that. there's like, not even because of controversy, just because I'm like, this is so Zoomer in its humor that I, as a fellow Zoomer, I'm like, I know this guy, like, he's joking because, that's what my buddies and I used to do around like the lunch table or whatever. But he's like doing it on an actual like national stage because he has that many followers. And you're just like, oh, like, oh no. But the one thing I really respect with him is that he's really true to himself. I think sometimes he gets a little like wishy-washy and he can go back and forth. And that's something that I think Pope-splainers do that a bunch too. But in terms of like his politics really are America first in the preservation of, like, we don't want to see our country wiped away. Like, we want the ideals that, our forefathers died for to continue on and not be overrun by Islam and other religions that are genuinely at odds with Catholicism. So I really respect him for that. But because if I say anything else, C tier.
All right, that's reasonable. I have a hard time because I like a lot of Groypers, but I just genuinely don't know that much about Nick Fuentes, and so because of that, when I hear critique of him, I go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." And when I hear people say why they like him, I go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Mm-hmm.
And so, due to my ignorance, I think it's fair to also put him in C tier. I will say that I have a lot of respect for him because I think he says what he thinks is the truth, and whether or not I agree with him all the time. I guess kind of similarly to Pine Sap, where he's also very controversial. He's even more controversial than Pine Sap is. And I almost wish, I think if Fuentes was a little bit harder on the Catholicism from what I've seen, the way that Pine Sap is, it might be for the best, although that might hurt his reach. So I'm not sure. But he's built something and I haven't. So who am I to really critique his strategy?
Yeah, 100%, right? Like 100%. Yeah. Someone that I think does a really good job is American Reform. I don't know if you've seen his work or anything. I think
I follow the account.
Yeah, when it comes to that's a good question in the chat. But when it comes to like all the questions, when it comes to Catholicism between like race relations, politics, stuff like even the new mass and the old mass, American Reform does a really, really good job. I like reading his stuff. I just, even if you disagree with him, I think it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I don't know too much about him to endorse it, so I'd have to check. I know that I've seen stuff from his that I've liked. I've seen a couple other people who's have stuff that I've liked. I'll put up this question and we can answer it. From St. Anthony Padua Radtrad, who is very intrapersonally popular within the spaces where Anthony and I run. I think he might be a sede, so no comment on that. But
yeah, but he's got St. Anthony of Padua in his name, and St. Anthony of Padua is my patron saint, so that makes him based.
Oh, that's pretty based. Is there a similarity between all these individuals? How did they make this list? I'm late. Well, shame on you for being late, but we're glad you're here now. That's all that matters. Precisely. And the only thing that lumps them all together is that both Anthony and I know who they are and that they are at least in some way Catholic. And so basically, I think if you were plugged in to Catholic YouTube and Twitter, you could probably name about 80% of these people. St. Anthony Padua Radtrad, my confirmation saint. That's excellent. I wasn't told I was allowed to have a confirmation saint, or I wasn't told to have one, so I don't have one.
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't make zero sense.
Well, I also didn't have traditional confirmation. I got baptized, chrismated, and communed on the same day because I'm a Byzantine.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Well, okay. So, your name serves as in this case, your name would serve as your patron.
The issue with my name is that one of them is honorable because it's an Old Testament. It's an Old Testament name from Exodus, so he's not even technically a saint. And then the only other one who's a saint is The only other one who's a saint is like some random Ethiopian guy from like the year 500 or something like that. So
Wait,
there's not a great option. Yeah. Do you know what this means? I'm not sure what this means.
No, I think they're trying to guess your
My saint.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't have one, so there's nothing to guess. But who did we just say? We just got off topic. We were finishing Nick Fuentes, I think. So I think we should probably move on to the next person. Let's do someone everyone likes. What are your thoughts on Father Chad Ripperger?
Oh, S tier. He's S tier. He's amazing. I love him.
Everything I've seen from him is excellent, and I don't think you can downplay the fact that he has an amazing level of experience. And like I think that his opinions, if you're trying to say, let me make sure that I'm not doing anything wrong, if you listen to his prescriptions, you're very, very unlikely to do something wrong. He might be overly strict, but you're not gonna slip in. He's not gonna justify you slipping into sin.
Yeah. Exactly. He's very serious about that, and that's something I really appreciate, because I think a lot of, and especially like you were in the process of OCIA or the equivalent, right? And sometimes it gets really easy to downplay certain things in OCIA, and don't worry about that until you're Catholic. Don't worry about, and he's not like that. From the beginning, he's talking about no matter where you're at in the spiritual life, take sin seriously, go to confession. Receive often, as much as you're receiving confession often, receive often. And I love that about him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think obviously some people go crazy with the exorcists, but honestly, he gets like 100 extra cool points for being an exorcist. That's pretty based.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I think a lot of people know him for the exorcism stuff. However, a lot of his talks are mostly just on the spiritual life. He gets a lot of flack for being one of those celebrity exorcists, because a lot of people want to talk to him about that. But most of his just, any day given talks. Nice.
My first sermons or talks that I heard was his talk on the benefits of smoking. While I'm not going to encourage smoking, all I will say is that people who smoke are way cooler than people who don't smoke. Unless you have asthma, then you shouldn't smoke, because smoking with asthma is lame.
Yeah. I have asthma, but I still do it.
So also, well, I guess if you don't inhale it into your lungs, it's not quite the same thing. And but yeah, funnily enough, I've only seen his non exorcist videos, or his non-demon videos, essentially, or whatever you want to call them. So for me, I have a really good view of him, not even knowing about any of the like cool badass exorcist stuff, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although people have really, really hit me over the head with his anti-tattoo opinions, and as someone who has a lot of tattoos, it hurts my feelings.
I've only got the one, so it's okay.
There you go. St. Monica's Army says Christine Niles left Church Militant before the blow up. She has her own YouTube channel now. Another one for the list is Joe McLean. So I know the name Joe McLean. I still have not heard of Christine Niles, so I can't speak ill or for her. Although I know there's mixed things. We do have another really popular or well-known ex-Church Militant person. I guess it depends on what you mean by popular. But and then I know the name Joe McLean, but he's not appearing in my brain. Do you know him, Anthony?
Yeah, I know Joe McLean. He was on AB. So he did an episode with Avoiding Babylon, which was phenomenal. I recommend, if you haven't heard that one, go watch it. His testimony is amazing. It's one of my favorites to repeat to people, especially when he talks about him getting married. And, he just became Catholic because his wife was Catholic, and he was just, I'm going to do whatever. And on his wedding day, his priest essentially like asked him, you want to go to confession? and because his priest was aware, like they were living with each other, they were sleeping with each other, and so he's like, no. And so his priest goes, in the name of the Father and the Son. and so he's got a great testimony. But my favorite thing from him isn't even he runs a radio show over with Stations of the Cross, which, if you haven't heard of them or like listened to them, Father Mateg, that's where I've gotten so many different cool Catholic authors, people like Kennedy, people like Raymond Ibrahim. But anyway, Joe McClane, he had this lecture on this book about Pope Pius XII in World War II. Phenomenal. Dude, I was crying. I was laughing. I was like, on edge the entire time because he just gives this huge, essentially 1 hour lecture on this book, and it's amazing.
Excellent. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I haven't heard of him, so that sounds pretty cool. Next person we're going to do, I think, to fit in a little bit what we were talking about. This guy, in the way that Pine Sap is in some ways the opposite side of a coin of Christian B. Wagner, this young gentleman is also the opposite side of a coin of Christian B. Wagner. We're going to look at the traditional Thomist, Mr. Nicholas Cavazos, third co-host of Avoiding Babylon, and probably actually the best part of the show, although I have a lot of loyalty to Rob for all he puts up with.
That's too true.
Yeah. I would say, okay, wait, here's what I'm going to say, actually. Nick Cavazos in individual episodes with no guest is the best part of the show. He sometimes gets in the way when there is a guest because he's so well-educated and has so many strong opinions. The fact that Anthony is like, a 95 IQ, 4-foot-tall construction worker helps him in staying humble when he interviews other people. I think Nick Cavazos is B tier only because I think his really, really strong opinions kind of harm his reach, but I think he's really, really good. I would put him similarly to Father Ripperger, where he might give you a prescription that's too harsh, but you're unlikely to sin listening to his kind of moral prescriptions because he's quoting them directly from manuals, so you can't really argue with it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm going B tier as well because I had a comment I said I want to live in a church where both Lefebvre and JP2 are saints, and he threw it up on the screen and he goes, no. And then he hit it again. So for that comment, he's got to go B tier. Otherwise, I would totally agree.
But he does get points, in my opinion, for debunking Catholic answers. I think him and Christian Wagner, another thing they share in common is that they've done the best Contra Catholic Answers videos.
Yes.
And I think those are really excellent. I just thought of some other people who have been anti-Catholic answers, who would be worth putting on here. So traditional Thomist, B tier, pluses and minuses. Overall, he's pretty good. Speaking of Catholic answers, what do you think about Jimmy Akin?
Coming into conversion, I loved Jimmy Akin. Post conversion, he's got to go C or D for me. And I have nothing but love for Jimmy, but just his video responding to Christian was just it was unnecessary.
Yeah,
they could have just gone into a debate.
Nick's like a nice dude. We have similar opinions. Yeah, that's probably why I agree with you on a lot of stuff, Mr. St. Anthony Padua Rad Trad, because I agree with Nick on a lot of stuff, and he knows more than I do. So I kind of just listen and, for the most part, agree. Yeah, but Jimmy Akin, his video of towards Christian Wagner really, really, really negatively harmed my opinion of him personally. I thought it was really... If he had just stuck to the arguments and disagreed with Christian, I think it would have been fine. I think Christian was really, really trying to be respectful in the critiques that he made, and he put off critiquing Jimmy Akin and Trent Horn, some other people who kind of deserved it for a really long time. And so because of that, I think he really didn't deserve the treatment he got. And the fact that the first half of the video was basically just thinly veiled legal threats and poisoning the well by claiming that Wagner was autistic and other things like that. And I'm probably not giving the most generous or charitable reading of Akin's behavior either, but I don't know. He poisoned the well on himself for me, and I previously really liked him.
Yeah.
I will say Jimmy Akin is genuinely a pretty good debater. Recently, as he's gotten older, some of his stuff, I feel like some of his most recent stuff I've seen gets kind of cheesy. Like that recent Bart Ehrman debate he did. He gave Bart Ehrman a high five or something in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just like such a boomer thing to do. And I really didn't like that. But I do think that his Strange World videos or podcasts, either one, from a entertainment perspective, are actually really good. And he does a pretty good job, I think, staying orthodox on a lot of that. He did like a 3-part series or a 2-part series on whether or not unicorns are real. Ooh. And that was really good. It was really engaging.
Interesting. I'll put it. Okay, you're right. I'll put him at a C because I really loved. I learned about Saint Toribio Romo Gonzalez because of him in the Strange World. So I'll put him C.
When he stays away from church politics, and when he's attacking Protestants and atheists, which is pretty much what I'll say of almost all of the different Catholic Answers guys, that's where they should stay. Stay out of politics, stay out of church politics, and stick to attacking Protestants and atheists because it's kind of the only thing that they're good at.
Yes.
Let's go to the guy who used to be objectively my favorite Catholic, and is now pretty low on my totem pole. I almost can't bring myself to even watch his videos anymore. What are your thoughts on Trent Horn?
I would agree with you on that. I would agree. I didn't get in, actually, in honesty, I never got into Trent Horn as much. I never really liked him, not because like I thought I didn't like his arguments or anything like that. He just wasn't for me. You know how there's some Catholic Answers apologists where you're like, you're good, you not so much. He was that for me. So I'll put him C. I'll put him C because he really has just devolved.
I think that up until about, okay, wait, let's preface this. Trent Horn is very, very smart. And when you listen to him tell his story, you will very quickly realize that the fact that he essentially comes from like an atheist, Jewish, become a deist, like his conversion storyline is very, very clear in how he does apologetics to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And very much for the negative, I think. But I think it's really sad because I think his original videos that I had seen and some of the first books he wrote were very, very good. I think his why Protestants argue like atheists. Like, I think that was like a really unique idea to him, which was excellent. That was a really, really great one.
Mm-hmm.
And his like why we're Catholic and some of those other books were also really, really good. But then randomly he starts spurting out on E. Michael Jones and Bug Hall and Pine Sap and just attacking people. And I think that anyone who knows any of these people knows that they don't deserve the treatment that they got. And it's honestly really unfair. And that really, really bothered me. And honestly, the negative way he treated those people kind of ruined Trent Horn's show for me, honestly. Mm-hmm. And even since then, I've watched one or two of his videos that he's put out since all that whole breakdown of his happened. And I honestly, some of them are good videos and I still just couldn't enjoy them.
Yeah. I agree. I didn't like how he addressed a lot of that. And especially with Tim Gordon, I don't like how he's handled that fallout since. And I just don't respect not owning up to what you did. So
I agree. One last thing I will say is that I think that it's one thing if you want to. E. Michael Jones makes himself an easy target. He's not like I've asked him a question on his show before. I appreciate him. I don't agree with him on everything, but he's done a lot of good stuff. But same thing. Pine Sap in some sense makes himself an easy target. But like his recent video about like being a meanie is going to send you to hell, and he obviously took Bug Hall's tweet and blurred his name off. I think the way he's talked about or the way he's treated Tim Gordon, which is kind of weird because Tim Gordon actually is the only quote unquote like trad who was willing to go on to Trent's channel and debate an atheist or a Protestant. I don't remember which it was. So it just seems kind of weird. I think that as Tim Gordon says, Trent is still nursing the wound from the whipping he got 5 years ago, or whatever it is. And unfortunately, I think that's kind of accurate. Trent, I think you ought to apologize. And I would be very happy to start watching your videos again if you apologize to the people who you've spoken negatively of. And you said C. I'm really angry at Trent Horn right now. He's going in D tier.
Fair enough.
And I think because I liked him so much more, it makes it worse for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on Tim Gordon since we brought him up?
I had I think what every Catholic initially has, especially the more you dive into tradition, you kind of get opened up to a little more of these YouTube channels. My first impression of Tim was, he's tough to listen to because at first you're like, he's a little crass, he's a little crude, like he's kind of a jerk, but in honesty, it was just more so because I'd never heard these arguments before, and getting to know Tim more in the videos I've watched of him, he's just so unapologetically for his arguments of patriarchy contra feminism, and I think he's been burned so many different times that it has kind of created that like film of I just don't care. Like I have to say what I have to say, because if I try to give any nuance or if I try to give any charity here or there, all they're going to do is try to take more ground. So I really like him, and for that I put him in like the A tier for me.
I like him a lot too. I think that I've heard some people even claim that Tim Gordon is not hard enough against feminism, which within the marriage, which I think is kind of funny. I mean, contra Tim Gordon, I'm going to allow my wife to leave the house and drive. Although I don't know how much of a say I necessarily have to tell her that, but he would say I do. And I honestly like that he says that. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
But I do agree that I think that Tim Gordon is kind of a jock in a space with a lot of nerds.
Yeah.
And yes. I think that makes him seem kind of that makes him seem like he's too harsh. And I think that if you think of him as like just the most educated, like cool guy in your friend group, then you realize that pretty much everything Tim Gordon says is perfectly acceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys in Catholic YouTube are kind of just weenies, and they're not willing to kind of take a ribbing, I like Tim Gordon too. We'll put him in A tier.
Oh, and the other thing that I thought was so cool, I'm a huge Green Bay Packers fan. And so the fact that he got to hunt on Brett Favre's land and that he's friends with Brett Favre just like elevated him that much more. And he also, that's the other thing, like you were saying, he's a jock in like a world of nerds, because he uses so much language that I relate to, being a former jock. Like, and I've always been really nerdy at the same time. And so kind of similar to him, like loving philosophy, loving theology, but I played hockey and baseball and track and all the sports, essentially football, basketball. And so when he like brings up those references, it's just so nice to hear someone talking about like Tyson or talking about Jordan in like in a theological sense, like he's tying it in, or when he's talking about just being a man, it's like, oh, that's nice. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I respect that a lot. I will say I've read I own his Rules Against Retrogrades book, and I will say buy that book to give to like a 14-year-old who needs to be tough. I am definitely past the politics in that book. A little mainstream, but it's good stuff, and I like his message a lot. Here's this one from Mr. K37. K37 is one of the friends I made in Wagner's group chat, I think. And no way RZ is at S tier. Well, RZ has converted more people than anyone else on this list to Catholicism, so he gets the honorary Jewish Presbyterian S tier. All right. We have a couple controversial people we ought to get out of the way before we get to the last couple. We've done too many fun people. I'm going to automatically put both of the women in trash tier because they're women, and I honestly thought to myself, women don't belong on this tier list because I'm a guy and I shouldn't be talking about women, and that's kind of weird. But I have specific beefs with each of them that I think deserve them being on the tier list. Lila Rose, stop paying yourself so much money. That's ridiculous. You've elevated yourself into the top 1% financially, or you'll soon be there based off fighting for babies. And I will not donate any money into your organization because you do that. But I appreciate the work you did in your past. And besides that, and the fact that you're a feminist, you're fine. Separately, Amber, religious hippie, stop posting thirst traps. They're terrible. Stop being a feminist. Your husband needs to take away your phone. Okay. Anyways, what do you think, Anthony? Wait. Okay. Here's a question, really quick.
Yeah.
Should I call you Tony?
Yeah, you can call me Tony.
Okay. Is that what most people call you?
I would say so. Especially like my friends in high school and college, especially, started picking up Tony, but they still call me Antony. My wife calls me Antony or Anthony. My family almost like exclusively calls me Anthony. My mom only calls me Antonio when she's really mad at me, as moms do, right?
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. I'm going to call you Tony then. I just wanted to make sure because it felt weird. It kept saying Antony, and I kept wanting to call you Tony. What are your thoughts on Lila Rose and on religious hippie?
I will say the one thing that Lila Rose does good and is her live. Is it Live Now? That's her. Is that her thing or
Live action.
Is it live action? Okay.
Live action.
Live action is really good and I'll say that I'll say it with this caveat because my wife and I had a friend. He died a month after, like not even a month, 3 or 4 days after his wedding on his honeymoon, and live action put their story up numerous times, and so I absolutely adore them for that. Yeah, but when it comes to the feminism, when it comes to if you're gonna lead a nonprofit, you shouldn't be making a bunch of money. I think that's just common sense, and so I do have that strife as well. But then, what I do like about Amber Rose is she was one of the first people that I followed coming into Catholicism because I would see these comments, and she actually had a big part in introducing the Latin Mass as well. But I would totally agree. Too many thirst traps. Not cool.
You don't have to be dressed like a harlot to be doing a thirst trap, because the type of dude to be following a Latin Mass girl on YouTube, which unfortunately there are way too many of them, a little bit of collarbone and constantly putting your feet in the picture is enough for that weird guy. So put on some shoes, please, Amber Rose.
And all the guys in her comment section,
they're disgusting.
Go close your phone, close your computer, go into the mirror, and take a real hard look at yourself and ask yourself what you're doing with your life. I want all of you young men to know you will never, ever get a woman by sliding into her comment section unless you have a huge following or a bunch of money. Just to let you know. Please just stop it.
Yeah, and once again, to Amber's husband, take her phone away. And separately I do want to give one caveat, because a guy was kind of busting my balls about complaining about Lila making money. Mm-hmm. If Lila Rose were selling books, or it was like if it was like exclusively her podcast paying her all this money, mm-hmm. if she was doing something not directly related to her organization, but that where it was from her from her fame that she gained from the organization, like I said, like selling books or something, and she could be making $100 million a year. I would not care if she got that off of a book deal. But her organization pays her out that money, and that's a tax-free money from a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So paying yourself the closer part of $500,000 is not amazing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, we all realize like we got to make a living, but that's a little more.
Yeah, especially when you're the wife. Where is Donald Trump? Donald Trump, S tier. Donald Trump put out the St. Michael prayer, S tier. And then we'll de-relegate him down to B tier because he has not made Catholicism the legal or the state language for the USA. So now he's back down to B tier.
But then he jumps up to A tier because he gave us Barron, who most likely will be our Catholic emperor. So
that's true.
Back up to A tier.
He gave us Lisan Al Gaib, so he goes to A tier. I agree.
Exactly.
All right, let's knock out a couple. I actually think there's only a few more people who are negative. What do you think about Father Casey Cole, famous liberal priest YouTuber? Do you have thoughts on him?
D or trash?
Yeah, I agree. No need to take too much time. I don't want to hate on a prelate. I'm going to put him in D tier. Trash seems rude for someone who's a priest.
Yeah.
There's some crazy liberal stuff on there, although some of the really basic catechesis is not terrible.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He taught me how to receive on the tongue.
There you go. Well, that's good. Next priest who I would like to focus on, who I think is S tier. What are your thoughts on Father Gregory Pine?
Oh, I do love Father Gregory Pine. It also helped me so much with getting into like the basics of Thomism. So yeah, he's got to be A or S tier.
I think the videos he puts out for Pints with Aquinas, as well as the podcast he does with his other Dominican brothers, or I guess their fathers all, is excellent. That it's not Pope's. What is it called?
Is it the Aquinas Institute?
No, he does. I'm totally forgetting what their podcast is called. It's with him and a bunch of the other Dominicans, and they have their own Godsplaining. I knew it was something splaining. It's called Godsplaining.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's a really good one. And in this picture, I picked the one where he had good hair, but nowadays he has bad hair and a good beard. So I swapped him, and that's a based trade.
Yeah, and he's Dominican, so like obviously all Dominicans are in S tier. It's just
Yeah, 100%. What about Pope JP3? So what do you think about Cardinal Sarah? S tier perhaps?
Yes, S tier, especially his recent comments.
I don't think if he became Pope, he would name himself John Paul III, but
He's definitely going Pius the 13th or Augustine.
that would be pretty based. All right. Other based guy, automatic A tier, but not S tier. Rob, way better than Anthony, but Rob probably is not the person to get me onto Avoiding Babylon, so he can stay in A tier.
See, it's the exact opposite. I think Rob would be the one to get me onto Avoiding Babylon versus Anthony.
That's fair. But you have the same name as Anthony, so that's a connection that you have.
That's true. That's true. I have the Polish version of Anthony.
Yeah, there you go. I don't have too much to say about Rob. I think that he is underappreciated, and he's like the Ferb from Phineas and Ferb of the Avoiding Babylon group.
Yeah,
the strong, handsome, unfortunately Midwestern silent type.
Unfortunately, dude, what are you talking? The Midwest is where it's at, man.
I guess technically you now live in the Midwest, don't you?
I've lived in the Midwest my whole life, and it's S tier. You want to know why? Because my taxes are lower, my rent is lower, my gas is lower, my grocery, everything. It's great. I tell my buddies what I make and then what I pay in groceries and rent, and they all get mad at me because they're all from Washington, Colorado, and California.
There you go. I guess if being forgotten is based, then living in the Midwest is based.
Exactly.
And to achieve a life of sainthood, being forgotten actually is probably not a terrible idea. And I live on the West Coast where I can't afford to live on my own. So I am jealous of you.
Exactly. Yes. K37, it's true. It's true.
Yes. Move to the Midwest. Become a police officer so you get paid a regular amount of money and there's no criminals out there except for crackheads. And
yeah, so long as if you avoid Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, the Twin Cities, you'll be fine.
They probably won't be exciting, but you'll get paid a decent amount and you'll get health insurance and a house will be $200,000.
Yeah, exactly. I pay for it 12, so it's a 1,200. I think it's 1,100 square feet. I pay 1,100 in rent.
Jeez.
2 bedrooms, 2 baths. All utilities are covered except electricity and Wi-Fi.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, that's crazy. Dang, maybe I need to move to South Dakota.
Dude, we have the FSSP on the west side.
Yeah, that was my issue with I was thinking, well, I still want to move to Wyoming, but the only Latin mass in all Wyoming is at Wyoming Catholic, and that's nowhere near anywhere I would live in Wyoming. Although the town I want to live in actually has a Ukrainian Byzantine church, so it's fine, and I've been there before. So they have a good liturgy.
Heck yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah, pretty much that and a grocery store.
Yes.
Okay. Other controversial figure, Dave Gordon, D tier, broke up TNT allegedly and sued his own brother's wife for publishing a book. Not based.
Not based at all.
It's weird because I feel like he could be cool, but his weird friendship with Mr. Trash Michael Lofton is really weird, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, not based.
Be cool like your little brother, Dave. Get it together. Although actually, he has a decent series with his wife on what is it called? It's called like How to Stay at Home, or it's like a trad family like catechism. Basically, it's actually pretty good. Okay, next, Brian Holdsworth, A tier or S tier?
B tier because he's Canadian.
Oh, Brian, you were going to be A tier, but now you're B tier because you're Canadian and you're a ginger.
Yeah. Can't do that.
Gross, barf.
Yeah, can't have that. You cannot be a Canadian in the upper tiers.
Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, if we had to demote Kennedy Hall to B tier, Brian Holdsworth cannot pass. Although Brian makes higher quality, shorter videos, and Kennedy is he's not a rambler, but he's just more of a pontificator than Mr. Brian Holdsworth is. But his stuff's excellent. I've had lots of people who are very personally who I respect a lot in my personal life, who are really great Catholics, and they've actually, a lot of them have discovered his stuff organically, and they've all had really, really good things to say about him. I think his videos are great.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Brian Holdsworth, he's one of those guys that you can show your wife, and introduce her to tradition, and versus Kennedy. Like whenever I play Kennedy, or my wife immediately starts getting angry by the things that he's saying, and then turns into an argument. So Kennedy's always causing arguments. I still like him though.
Mm-hmm. All right. What about Swan Sana? I think Swan Sana suffers from being too smart for his own good, and it really, really limits his reach. But for me, deciding to become Catholic, the new argument, I'm pretty sure he's come up with his own, the Eliakim typological argument, I think is his argument.
Really?
I think so. I could be wrong. Or at least he's just the only person I've ever heard put it forward. And it's really, really excellent. But like I said, I think he's a little too smart for his own good.
Yeah, I don't, for me, I haven't really listened to his stuff. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I haven't really dived into his stuff. So maybe I'll have to, for that, he's a B tier for me.
Unfortunately, well, B tier is fine. I think because you don't even know who he is, we can't break him. C tier, just so everyone knows, is just average. We don't have negative feelings of people in C tier.
Yeah, exactly.
Recently, I have negative feelings towards Jimmy Akin, but seriously.
Me too.
All right. What do we think about the best Catholic Answers apologist, Joe Heschmeyer?
Joe's got to be B or A. Joe Heschmeyer has like my respect. He's awesome. I like him.
I think he started off absolutely roaring, doing a great job. His start with Catholic Answers has been really, really, really high quality. At first, I didn't like him very much, and then recently, the videos he's been putting out have been excellent. K37 says he belongs in A tier. I agree. I think that as someone who tends towards tradition, he's probably the only person you can watch from Catholic Answers where you feel like he's giving you the truth, like 100%. Where he's not like hiding anything, or he's not like doing anything kind of weird or fishy. Like so far, I found no reason to critique Joe Heschmeyer.
Yeah, his videos are really cool. I think he was critiquing, I forget which Protestant. I was on the job. I was doing my tree service job, and I just had a headphone in, and I was just listening to him like just beat up one of these, anti-Catholic guys. It was great.
Is it that old white guy who was on the Allie Beth Stuckey show?
Yes. I'm forgetting his name right now because he's not on.
It's like Mike Gingrich or something like that.
Something. Something along those lines. He's essentially like the Chad Rodema of YouTube.
I don't know who that is, so that's not helpful.
You will. You'll come across Chad in one of the comment sections on X, and then you'll see.
All right. Oh, are you talking about the guy with the really, really stupid looking like buff video game avatar?
Yeah, him. That's Chad Johnson. He's bad, but he's not as bad as Chad, the other Chad.
Well, the Chad guy I'm talking about is him and Indiana Brunner and that AJ guy are out of the, and I respect them even less, and Mike Winger. I agree, K37. All of those guys, and James White. And especially because James White has had the gall to call me out. I do not like any of those guys. They're all absolutely horrendous. And there are tons of women who go in those circles too, who should not be online because they're women. And in addition to that, they have just as stupid arguments, and it makes me very angry. Yes. But I don't want to be rude to some other guy's wife, so that's not very nice. I just tell them that they need to log off and that their husbands need to take away their phones.
Yeah. Speaking of log off, shout out Minion Thomist going under all those comment sections.
Just telling everyone to log off. Yeah.
Any woman, he just immediate log off.
Yeah. Heart Minion Thomist. I love Minion Thomist. Just in case anyone knows. Minion Thomist is actually 6'8" and 225 pounds with a six pack, and he's very, very handsome. And he also is really interesting, and he loves to sing love songs to the homies.
Yeah,
I made up every single one of those things. I've never seen what he looks like. All right, we're down to our last three. Like I said, that weird one of the trucks is an accidental pull. Bishop Robert Barron, Sede Picante. He accused me of stealing the eyeballs on his video, but if you look at my other YouTube channel that I won't name, I've actually been doing eyeballs for years. So sorry, Sede Picante.
Yeah, he also roasted me today and about my acquirement of the Summa, and he goes, those are very nice decorations. Where are you gonna hang them?
Dang, that's crazy.
Dude, it was a great comment. That made me laugh so hard.
All right, Sede Picante, because you're mean to Tony and because you accused me of stealing your eyes, although besides that, you've actually been really nice to me. Actually, you know what my biggest gripe is that I spent my own money to super chat Rob to tell him that he stole my idea for putting eyes on them. And he said verbatim, he said, if I owe it to anyone, I owe it to Sede Picante. But what he doesn't know is that I didn't take it from him. That was my own organic thing, Rob. People come up with things independently, just so you know. So Sede Picante, you can go into B tier. And then because you were mean to Tony, you go down to C tier.
Look at that.
In my heart, you're in B tier.
Yeah. You can go back up to B tier for me too.
Okay, then he said you can go back up. You can be in B tier. I'm not sure if K37, when he says put this man on, if he means Sede Picante or Mike Winger, but we all know Mike Winger is in negative trash tier, below trash tier, because he's terrible.
Yeah, because Gooner.
His name is Masturbatory Mike Winger for a reason. He's pro gooning, which is literally evil. So bad, Mike Winger. Boo.
Bad.
Sede Picante is happy with C tier, and we bumped him into B tier, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Phil Gonzalez said everything is about Sede Picante. Well, I don't know, Mr. Phil, if you just logged on or not, but it might seem that way now, but I promise we're normal usually. Okay, next person. I said Bishop Robert Barron, but I don't think we talked about him. What do you think about Bishop Robert Barron?
I'd put him into B tier because it seems with age he gets more and more based. Other than that, I saw the comment that you had under His Excellency's post the other day. Other than that post, I think he's been pretty good in terms of actually being orthodox recently and speaking out against things that, when it came to the conclave, right? Like he was hard against conclave. He had that interview with Jonathan Peugeot, and he was like, "You're a man all about hierarchy," and he's like, "And yet you don't even believe in the Pope," And he just pressed him on that, and I'm like, I love that. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, his recent thing. What is S tier from Phil Gonzalez? Phil, A, B, C, D is like the letter grading scale in school, and trash would be F, but that just emphasizes how much we dislike people who are trash. D would technically just be below average. C would be average. B would be we like them, but they're not amazing, or we like them, but we have an issue. And then A would be we generally like them a lot, and S tier would pretty much be like either perfect or really, really amazing, or like with Mr. Dick Zoomer, who's in the top left. That's kind of ironic because he's a Protestant. I agree. I think B for Robert Barron, for Bishop, sorry, His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron is fair. I honestly, before I became Catholic, he really scandalized me by the interview he did on Ben Shapiro's Sunday Special show, where it really seemed, if you interpreted it in a certain light, like he was arguing for religious indifferentism. Mm-hmm. And I literally a week ago had a friend who sent me a video basically going, "This isn't what the Bible says." And I had to say, yes, you're correct. That is not what the Bible says. He did a really bad job representing the correct teaching there. And I'm not going to speak ill of a prince of the church, but I'm just as a fact that when I was becoming, or before I even became Catholic, that was really scandalizing to me. And the other thing he said recently was not amazing either. But besides that, yeah, I agree. He's really good. I think that B as a totally acceptable. I don't have a huge issue with him. Is S the privileged tier? I guess. I don't know. Privileged tier, like we give them a special exception? Yeah, probably.
With Anthony being up in S tier? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
With Anthony Abate being in S tier, yeah, it's probably a privileged tier. Although we
just want to get on his show.
Yeah, we just want to get on his show. And this gives me the opportunity to put him in S tier, but then also call him lots of dirty names because he's a dirty Italian.
fake country.
He's kind of like if like Tony Soprano was like mixed with like an elf but wasn't cool, you know? That's kind of like Anthony. Because Tony Soprano is like kind of suavecito and he's like in charge of a gang, and Anthony just works construction and is the size of an elf.
You heard it here.
We hate the Nuncio of Nuance. That is the name for Mr. Michael Lofton, and that is also the name of what is S tier? Baron Joe. Catholicism is the privileged way to God. The privileged tier. Oh, I get it. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. That's actually a really good joke, and you're way smarter than we are because we did not understand that.
Shows you how much you watch of Baron.
Yeah. Ooh, good thing I was nice to him. That we hate the Nuncio of Nuance. You know, I have that fake Michael Lofton account that I comment stuff with, and he commented that under Sede Picante did under my account the other day, and I thought that was really funny. Okay, we got our last two. What do you think about Alex from The Voice of Reason?
Alex has got to go into there's a couple of rankings. He could go into A tier solely because he sounds like Rocky Balboa, and he could go into C tier because he's friends with Michael Lofton. So I'm gonna go with B.
Yeah, that's my account. I used that. Well, I used it initially to just to get attention. But the funny thing is, it doesn't even get me attention. It just gets that account attention. I just thought it was funny to troll people.
That's true. Do they even know that that's your account?
Well, now K37 knows, and he'll probably tell Christian Wagner the next time I bomb in Christian Wagner's chat. K37, keep it a secret. And I'm sure Minion Thomas will find out somehow.
Yeah.
The women are an S tier because I did not even want to put women on this list, but I felt like Amber Rose is she Amber Rose too? Amber and Lila both deserved being spoken against. And so because of that, I thought that they deserved to be put on only so I could speak negatively towards them and put them at the bottom. There are women who I actually think are cooler who I did not put on here because I don't like talking to or about women. Okay, let's see here. I agree. I think Alex from Voice of Reason puts out some good stuff, and his voice is almost too deep. But the fact that he's friends with Michael Lofton is not very good. He falls into some of the Michael Lofton traps a little bit, like some of the stuff that Lofton does. He's a little bit more of like a Catholic Answers style type of guy, but not in the cool way that Joel Heschmeyer is. Sometimes I feel like Alex is not telling me everything I need to hear. But I will bump him up to B tier because at my Byzantine church, there was an entire family who converted from watching his videos. So he saved the souls of 4 people who I know in my life. And so he gets a bonus for that.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. All right. We saved someone pretty controversial for last. What do you think about Anthony Stein?
S tier. Put him up there.
Okay, why?
He's hilarious. I don't know if you've gotten to see some of his tweets. He's so freaking funny. And especially the way he trolls Anthony. And I don't know what his sleep schedule is, but I don't know if that man is ever asleep. I mean, he's posting videos at like all times of the day, especially the night. Actually, all times of the night. Is it mixed bad?
Wait, is he calling? Is Sede Picante calling Anthony Stein a fence sitter?
Yeah.
Oh, because I guess if to us he would kind of be far to one side, but because Sede Picante is past us, Anthony Stein is actually probably further, quote unquote, to the right than you and I are. But he's actually a fence sitter, and we're a bunch of liberals compared to Sede Picante.
That's true. We're the modernists.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I have respect for you, Sede Picante, and I have no interest in denouncing you. But I also like Anthony Stein, and I will talk about why he's so good right now. He is one of the only people I've seen, with the exception of the actual TFP account and a couple really small interviewers who have given the TFP any time and given them really any exposure. He has lots of different videos reading the writings of their founder. His name is Dr. Plinio Correa de Oliveira. He's a Brazilian, and so he reads some of his translated writings. And he has a lot of stuff. If you can read Portuguese, you could read all of his stuff, but not as much of it is translated. And I think that they have the best arguments, basically, from a political perspective that I've heard within the Catholic Church, as far as diagnosing kind of the political rot. They call it the revolution, and they tie it to, I'm going to use this as a chance to pontificate. They tie it to the Renaissance, and I think that's really, really cool, and I like their stuff a lot. And so because of that, I like putting him in S tier too, because I think the TFP deserves more attention, and Anthony Stein is one of the only people I've seen who's directly addressed their ideas.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I have a good buddy over in Germany. He's essentially my brother-in-law. He's associated with the TFP over there, and I'm pretty sure he runs their Instagram because they followed me the other day, and I thought that was pretty cool. So,
dang, I need to get someone on the TFP to follow me. I'm supposed to. I have a friend who I get dinner with, or not, who I eat at his house every single week, and he's a member of the TFP. So I know different people, and I'm in contact with the guy who used to run the St. John Bosco channel. His name is Matthew, and he now runs the it's called the Catholic Men's Podcast, and he's the one who does those really, really good narrations for the TFP videos. And honorary TFP S tier as well. Yeah, their stuff is really, really good. I like Anthony Stein's stuff. I will say the only thing is that he makes me kind of I can't watch his stuff too much. The culture war stuff within the church makes me angry if I watch it too often. And so I have to purposefully not watch it, or else I'm going to turn into a black pillar, and black pilling is gay. So
yeah, I agree.
And it's not because Anthony Stein is doing anything wrong. I think he's just genuinely bringing up a lot of serious issues, and I would like to think that those issues aren't there. And I would like to not make myself sad, because what he brings up is true most times, and I don't want to be sad.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've had to do the same. I think I got through 2 out of 3 of Michael Davies' Liturgical Revolution books, and I started reading the 3rd one, and I had to put it down because I was like, all right, this is just depressing.
Yeah, I know that the church is in a bad spot. I don't want to convince myself that it's any worse, because I feel like I know how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Anthony Stein. We got another tornado blowing through our neighborhood. Anyway, altar girls. Yeah. But I think his stuff is really good. I like it a lot. What is this? Roy says, I like Stein's videos from Anne Catholic Emmerich and other Kino videos, TBH. He has really good stuff. I think one of the best things that he does is he actually is very, very educated on some practical, real world, non-theological stuff, which is rare. If you look at all of our guests, most of these people have theology or philosophy degrees. And he has, I think it's like a public, like some type of political or like public works degree or something, which is, I guess, kind of stupid, but it kind of gives him a level of depth that not a lot of these other people have, who just focus purely on religious stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there is our political science. There you go. Close enough. I don't think that's technically what it says on his X account, but it's close. That's basically what it is. It's some fake subset of that. Public policy is, I think, what it is. Oh no, I have a philosophy degree. I'm a nerd. I'll never be smart. No, people with philosophy degrees are smart. Mr. Tony here is getting a theology degree, which is even better than a philosophy degree. But, let's just be real. Nicholas Cavazos has not had he doesn't have the life experience in the same way that Anthony from Avoiding Babylon does. And that means that they're both good at different things.
Yeah.
Where does K37 rank? K37, you were the first person to comment, I think, on my new channel, on this channel. So you're S tier.
Real.
All right. Well, if you need to go, I can let you go. But that's our tier list. Is looking at it now, Tony, is there anyone that you would want to rearrange?
No.
I'm angry at Jimmy Akin, so he goes into D tier.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, we should put Frad down into the B tier because he's Australian, so can't have.
Frad is a foreigner. He got to be A tier for the whole video, and for being a foreigner, he goes down to B tier.
Yeah.
And Nick could use a trash tier girl.
Somebody,
No.
if somebody can get this to Nick Cavazos, please, just that clip, just get that clip to him.
Give Nick a girlfriend. At first, I thought people were talking about Nick Fuentes. Where's Chris West? Chris West is trash tier for misrepresenting. His misrepresentation of theology of the body made me think theology of the body was gay, and maybe it is, but definitely the way he says it, it's gay.
Yeah, he gets maybe a little too flowery sometimes. That's for sure.
Also Ralph Martin, for what he did in the '90s, trash tier. I can't think of anyone else.
Exactly. Kennedy really opened that up. He really opened that up.
Yeah, read Kennedy's book, and it will give you a new lens into Ralph Martin. A couple other people. We might do another podcast, or we might do another tier list, but a couple other people in my mind. Charles Coulombe, S tier. Yes. Anyone else you can think of? Fuentes is right there in the C tier. No offense to any of my Groyper friends. You have to go back and listen to why we gave him that. I think it's reasonable. Yeah. Neither of us are Groypers. I like Groypers more than I like Nick Fuentes. That's all I'm going to say.
Sometimes Groypers can really grind my gears, but for the most part, yeah. Nick, well, I will say this. There's a couple of clips where Nick says something like just heinous, and it's so funny. It genuinely is, because he gets, oh, yeah, these are good ones. Those are good ones. Eric Ibarra, William Albrecht.
Yeah, tell us more if you want us to bring them up before Tony has to leave. I agree. I think, well, I'm actually to the right of most Groypers, I think, except for the fact that they like to play around with loving Hitler. Yeah. And I don't blanket hate Hitler. Like, I'm not an idiot who's like, he's pure evil. He's the devil. Like, I'm not stupid like that. I think that I give him the analysis he deserves, but I'm not like a Hitler worshiper. And I don't actually think most of them are either. I think they just they think it's funny and edgy to play around like that. Okay, let's go through what people said. So Fuentes is in C tier. We just explained why, kind of. Like I said, I like a lot of Groypers, and there are Groypers higher up than Nick Fuentes.
Yeah. Well, I think these next names, I think this is giving us a list for the next tier list, because yes. look at the one K37 threw down.
Bishop Williamson, which one is he?
He was a part of the 4 SSPX bishops, but he's the one that got kicked out of the bishops for his comments.
Oh, well, I don't even know enough.
Wagner did a video with him.
Who did?
Wagner did a video with him.
He did one. I saw him do one with Pope Michael, but I didn't see Pope Michael S tier. But yeah, maybe we can do these for another one. I've kept Tony from resting from his sickness and from his wife for 30 minutes longer than I said I would. So I might speak on some of these if you need to go.
Is that okay? I think I'm gonna head
out. That's fine. Yeah, have a good rest of your night. I'll talk to you later. I'll finish these up.
Heck yeah, man. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it was nice to finally talk to you and not just message you or chat you. So I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta. I'll talk to Jay over, my co-host over at the Latin Slavs. Well, we're gonna have you on. So
yeah, sounds good. We can do a video about whatever, and I can just I'm smart enough to have an opinion on most things, except for evolution. So don't ask me about
that. Real. All right. Well,
all right. Talk to you later. Bye. All right, everyone. So I'll go over some of these really quick. Go read your wedding present. I don't know what that means. I should put that up here. Go read your wedding present. I don't know what that means. I'll go over some of these. I forgot Eric Ibarra. I think Eric Ibarra is A tier. His arguments are really good. He's really, really small. If he was a little bit bigger, I think that he could probably be verging on like in between A and S tier. Maybe some people might even say he's B tier. I think he's pretty good. I think that dealing with the Orthodox can often be hard because if he was bigger, Sede Vacante says, if he was, Eric is huge. And I think that Sede Vacante is not referring to his audience size. I think he might be referring to something else, which is not very nice. So I'm not going to weigh in on that. But if his channel was bigger, but I think Eric has a really hard line to walk because a lot of the online Orthodox are very bad faith, in my opinion. And what's really funny is that I actually know a lot of Orthodox in my personal life. One of my best friends is Orthodox, and a couple others are as well. And I think that they're all actually amazing people, and most of them are not even at all plugged into the online discourse. And so because of that, like, I think, for example, Jay Dyer gives the Orthodox a really bad rap, and he gives them a bad look, which I guess for me as a Catholic is actually probably not a bad thing, but it's unfortunate. He does misrepresent a lot of really good people. Bishop Williamson, like I said, I can't really speak on that. I also don't know who William Albrecht is. Once again, I know that name, but he's not appearing in my brain. Father Maudsley, my understanding is that he talks about the Amish people, as I'll use the avoiding Babylon rules. He talks about the people of the Old Covenant, is my understanding. I have not seen any of his videos, but that's based. I like that. He's a funny guy. I think he's referring to Bishop Williamson. Pope Michael II. Is Pope Michael II he's the one who was after, he's not because I think Pope Michael I was the white guy who he interviewed, and I think like the Asian Filipino guy is Pope Michael II, if I'm incorrect, and he's nowhere near as cool as the first Pope Michael. The first Pope Michael is for sure the coolest. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know what that means. We're skipping that. Eric has twice the superpowers of a regular Ibarra. Okay, I'm taking the tier list off unless anyone wants to keep seeing it. Yeah, I guess he has twice the superpowers of a regular Ibarra. I like him a lot. Let's see what else. Yeah, online people often give us all bad names. It's just like what I do for sedes. I've actually seen, although like I said, I'm mainly in circles that are not straight up going to condemn all sedes, but I haven't had anything bad to think about you, Mr. Sede Picante. But yeah, like the most Holy Family Monastery guys make you guys all look like you're actual mental retards. So that's not good. Yeah, he's the Philippine ex-bishop or the Pope. Yeah, he's nowhere near as interesting as Pope Michael I. Pope Michael I, actually, I think he gave a really interesting breakdown on kind of what it takes for you to actually be a sedevacantist, in my opinion, because I actually think his line of argument made a lot of sense. And if you're not going to be the type of sede who is taking part in the sacraments at what you don't think is the Catholic Church, but at the modernist church, I think that it kind of makes more sense to fall into the Pope Michael camp. And although obviously his argument has issues too. Let's see here. Voice of Reason does a decent Stallone impression. I feel kind of bad. I feel like I should put Voice of Reason up now. What am I doing wrong here? Better. There we go. Can I move myself? I'll just take myself off temporarily. Catholic Truth on YouTube, Shameless Popery. I have Joel Heschmeyer on here. He's an A tier. He's in the top right of A tier. I'm just going to do this because I'm only covering the trash people. He's right here underneath Anthony Stein. I like Joel Heschmeyer. He's really, really good. Catholic Truth, I have not heard him, or I've not heard of him. I like all the other Dominican priests from Godsplaining. Yeah, he's right here. And then I can't think of anyone else. There's not much else I'm really qualified to talk about, but I think this is a pretty good tier list right here. There are definitely women who I think belong in some of the lower tiers, although no woman should be on the internet. So that hurts all their cases. Sorry, guys. I keep petting my dog. He keeps bothering me. All right. If no one else is going to comment anything, then I'm not going to keep you guys all night. I don't have too much to say. Pope Francis is the Pope of the Catholic Church, and he's S tier. And I'm not going to speak ill of him. And I don't have to address any of the bad things he says for me to call him S tier. Joshua Charles. Oh, my goodness. Joshua Charles. Who is he? Oh, there's so many people. From what I can think of as him, from what I remember Anthony talking about on Avoiding Babylon, Joshua Charles can be B tier because I don't know anything else about him, and I'm not going to speak negatively of him. And people I respect speak well of him. Eric Sammons from I think it's Crisis Magazine. He goes in C tier for getting trounced by Christian Wagner. He's normally pretty good from what I've seen, but his terrible take that you don't need to know Latin to get into theology was a terrible take. Archbishop Lefebvre. Those two trucks in the corner. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of in the way, but there are, I think that you guys here, let me go here for a second. Yeah, there are two trucks in the corner as K37 pointed out that's my friend and another friend's truck that I accidentally dropped that file in here and I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it. So I just went ahead with it. Archbishop Lefebvre, I will say that a lot of my friends really don't like him. They kind of take the trad anti-SSPX stance, and I don't feel comfortable taking that stance because I don't know anything. And so because of that, I am going to just be respectful of him and say that I admire a lot of people who are in the SSPX and a lot of people who like them. So I'll give him an A tier. Saint Lefebvre. Wait, Saint Lefebvre. It's not out of the realm of possibility. This is actually a good one, Taffy. Michael Knowles. I'm curious if you guys would tell me what you think about Michael Knowles. I actually think that generally as a catechesis tool to be used for the average person, especially because his audience is full of normies, I think he's excellent. Although I think that there are lots of things he should speak about that he cannot speak about because of who his boss is. Anyone who needs to get that reference will understand what I'm talking about. And so, I think that I actually really think I would get along with Michael Knowles really well. But one, he needs to start wearing socks. And the fact that he doesn't wear socks is really, really gross. And so that puts him in D tier, and then I'll lift him up into the A tier because I like a lot of the other stuff. Knowles picks and chooses his fights, and he puts on others. And he punts on others. He is good. Oh, yeah. I think that he's very, very strategic. I think he's very smart. I think he knows what to do. And I think he really gets, Father Maldonado reminded me of another person to bring up. I think that Michael Knowles is really, really great where he's at, but I think that he allows maybe some things to slip where he shouldn't. Also, I'm going to put it out there. He stole a TFP idea and he did not credit them. So that's no bueno. So he doesn't wear socks and he stole a TFP idea, but besides that, he's pretty good. So here we can see 3 beautiful snowflakes, and I don't live where there's snow. I really wish that I did live where there was snow. So I'm going to give those 3 snowflakes the trash tier because nobody likes those. Father Dave Nix, and I'm going to include by extension Patrick Coffin because both of them are Benny Plenists. I like Father Nix. He has good stuff. The fact that he got Mel Gibson on Avoiding Babylon was pretty cool. And then I actually like Patrick Coffin a lot. He's not like a trad. I think I will eventually meet him because I occasionally go to mass where he goes to mass. And I apparently have some friends who have gone up and tried to approach him negatively and get on him for being a Benny Plenist, which is kind of a shame. I think that's not a great way to do it. Luce's S tier. Luce is the second queen of all Catholics. Number 1 is Mary, and number 2 is Luce. Pinto Bean Sede, S tier. Mike Parrott from The Rundown. I don't know who that is, and I apologize if I said his name wrong. All right, I think that might be it for tonight. If you guys want me to do any other stuff, feel free to come at me on X. My account is A New Crusade 33, I think. If you search A New Crusade, it should pop up. Most of you guys, yeah, there you go. Princess might work better for Luce. Luce is, if Mary is the Queen of Heaven and Queen of Americas, Luce is the Princess of America. I agree. But if you guys want me to make any other videos like this, any other topics, maybe you could come up with some new people. We could always redo this. It could be fun to do this with other people as well. I don't want this to be the only thing I'm doing. I plan to have some other conversations coming up, which should be good. I'm hoping to do multiple different interviews. Maybe I can steal Pat Coffin's hat bit, like wearing a fedora, if that's what you mean. And if you want to see fedoras, I can show you I have multiple different cool hats. I can show you those. But yeah, if you want to see any specific videos, let me know. I'm planning on interviewing my friend who's a member of the TFP. I really think giving some time to their ideas, especially their revolution and counter-revolution book and ideas, would be good. And then I also think that I want to do an interview with the guy who did the St. John Bosco channel, Matthew. I want to interview him about that. He has some good stuff that I think is really good and is worth looking into too. And he's very, very skilled at video editing. He's very, very skilled at doing that voiceover. And so he has a lot of good stuff to say. And I want to interview him about his new channel, the Catholic Men's Podcast. For any of you guys, you should check that out. He does stuff on literature for the Catholic man or the Catholic gentleman. And that's really, really good as well. And then I'm hoping to also interview the president of TFP or the vice president, Mr. John Horvat. He wrote a book called Return to Order, which is based off of the TFP's ideas inside of Counter-Revolution and Counter-Revolution. And oh yeah, this is a good idea. A Cole tier list. And I could do this either by myself or I could do this with more people. What is my profile picture on X? My profile picture on X is a guy who looks vaguely like me with a mustache holding a baby. So it's a guy with my color hair and with a mustache, but he has a side part and he's holding a baby and I don't have a baby. Let's see here. But so those are the 3 interviews I plan on hopefully doing relatively soon. I have a couple other friends who I've been interested in doing some conversations with. I have some friends who have actual good degrees and who are actually qualified to talk about things. Separately from that, I'm interested in doing some videos on like Catholic political philosophy and some of that stuff. So that's good. I've been putting together notes for a video on when it is and when it isn't okay to overthrow a government, and that kind of St. Thomas's thoughts on tyrannicide, as well as when we need to recognize governments that are founded illegitimately, like obviously the United States of America, where I live, is an example of a country that was really founded in a way that's illegitimate from a Catholic perspective. And so I've really been wrestling with that and thinking about that. And so I'm putting together some notes for that and also contrasting that compared to maybe like some examples of illegitimate takeovers and what they could have done differently for it to be legitimate, whether that be like Mussolini or whether that be most of my notes are pertaining to Adolf Hitler. So what he did correctly and what he did incorrectly. And I've been talking with one of my friends about that. Let's see here. Qualified to talk about things. Where's the fun in that? Well, I'm not going to talk about theology because if I lead someone to believing the wrong thing and send them to hell, I don't want to get in trouble for that. Boo, Spanish Empire is entirely legitimate. The Spanish Empire from when to when? Because I will say I'm a fan of Spain in general. I'm a bit of a Franco enjoyer myself, and a bit of a Ferdinand and Isabella enjoyer. California is legitimate. No, it's not. Mussolini. Are you critiquing the way I said it? Is it some other way? Oh, that's actually another thing I wanted to do a video on. I think that this is not related to Catholicism, but I am pro purposefully anglicizing words, and I will not use a Mexican accent to say taco, and I will not use a Italian accent to say pasta names. I think that's really stupid. The part where we conquered and made California for life. So are you claiming that the California is legitimate as far as the parts that were once a part of Mexico? But that's not a part that I don't think that makes it legitimate for America to have it necessarily. Good night, K37. Thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. California is legitimately terrible. Well, if you hadn't already figured it out, I kind of live somewhere close to California, and I agree. California is legitimately terrible. Although the one advantage of living in this area is that I have within a 2-hour drive, I think there's half a dozen different either like Byzantine or Latin masses within what's a reasonable drive for me. So it gives me a lot of options. And if I lived in a nicer area, it would be even better. Is taco said differently in English? Yeah, I'll give you an example. If I walk up to a taco man, if I'm not going to order in Spanish, then I would ask him, "Hello, Mr. Taco Man, could I please have 3 tacos?" If I was going to order in Spanish, I would use the Spanish accent. But if I was going to order in English, I would not switch to a Spanish accent. So I would not say, "Hello, Mr. Taco Man, can I please have 3 tacos?" That's really cringe and gay. And I hate people who do that. Taco is eaten differently. No, I'm saying it's said differently. I choose to anglicize my words. If I cannot correctly pronounce it while keeping an Anglo accent, I'm not going to say it. So here's an example of this. I should just make it me because you guys don't need to see this tier list anymore. An example of this would be the Vietnamese word PHO, which is a name for the soup that they enjoy. A lot of Americans or Anglos would call it pho. And even though that's phonetically maybe how it's supposed to be pronounced using the English alphabet, obviously they call it pho as if it were PHUH. Sorry, I just spit. And so I can say pho in my accent and it's like 95% correct. And I'm not going to say it in any other way that requires it to be more correct. In a similar way, I'm not going to say some type of Hebrew or Jewish word with like the loogie noise in the back of my throat, whatever that's called, like a glottal stop or something like that. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to anglicize all my words. Yes, I know that's based. Now, if you order it like taco versus taco, you make a mess in one and not in the other. That's not true. I don't spill on myself at all. I ordered a burrito from an illegal immigrant 2 weeks ago, and I didn't spill. Although burritos are easier not to spill than tacos. Bruschetta. Yeah, I'm going to say bruschetta, and I'm not going to try to say it the Italian way. All right. At this point, I feel like I'm wasting your guys' time, but I guess nobody has to come into the live stream, and I'll end up cutting all of this out. So I don't have anything to do if you guys are still interested. Illegal burrito maker, not an illegal burrito eater. The burrito was made on the side of the road. So the burrito was also illegal and the guy who made the burrito. But until they release a monetary reward for reporting them, it's not worth my time right now. But if you were going to pay me $500, I'd probably start going to get burritos and then I'd call and leave. It was made illegally, as it was said. Yes, I ate the burrito whose existence was made illegally because there was no health information or no health approval on it. That is correct. I feel bad. I feel like if someone clicks on this on X, I feel like on YouTube, for some reason, they'll expect it to be terrible like it is right now. But if they click on it on X, I feel like they won't expect it to be terrible, and then I'll disappoint them and I'll lose followers or something like that. Let me actually find out exactly what my X account is so I can tell you guys to follow it. And I will show you what it looks like. Calm down, dog. So here's my profile. It's A New Crusade 33. There's my account. This is what he was talking about, where it's what is my image? I think he was using it to find me, but it's right there. It's supposed to be loosely based off of me, and it's supposed to relate to the image or the logo I have right here in the corner, obviously. But so A New Crusade 33. Thank you, K37, for following. I appreciate it. Any of the rest of you guys, don't know if Seti Picante follows me, if he has a Twitter, but he should. I don't remember right now. I think he might. But if you guys have an X, go ahead and follow me on there. I say stuff that is probably not politically correct. So if that bothers you, then that might not be good. But let me address some more of these comments as long as I'm going to be on here. It was made illegally, as it was said. Correct. I left SoCal a while ago. Even the worst SoCal taco truck is better Mexican food than the majority of Mexican restaurants outside of SoCal. Yeah, basically my understanding is that outside of the Southwest, so I would call that basically from Bakersfield south in California, and then Arizona, Texas, and some parts of Utah. I think outside of those specific spots, my understanding is that Mexican food gets really, really bad really quick. I actually think a lot of people have this weird obsession. Hey, ooh, dog scared me. I think a lot of people have a weird obsession with Mexican food, and I try not to have that, especially because the beans hurt my stomach. But I worked at a Mexican restaurant for a really long time. I actually think the best type of Mexican food is California style Mexican food, which is the type of restaurant I worked at. I think it's better than authentic Mexican food. I think it's better than Tex-Mex. I think it's better than Baja California Mexican food. I think that regular California style Mexican food is the best. Let's see. Just like mom made, illegally or just good? He said, that's right, California supremacy. I'm only referring to California Mexican food here, Sede Picante. I'm not willing to fight for the rest of California. I think California Mexican food is the best. What tier is Miss Happy Catholic? She's a woman, so she's low tier, but I don't know who she is, so I don't want to speak ill of her because I don't know who she is. But Sede Picante says that she's trash tier. So I'll put her in C tier because I don't want to speak ill of her because I don't know who she is. But she's a woman, so she should be in trash tier. Do you use that mouth to voice Pope JP3 Sede Picante? Will someone tell me who Miss Happy Catholic is? But yeah, people have a weird obsession with Mexican food that I'm trying to rid myself of. I've heard some people in debate with some people from other countries, and they'll basically get to the point where they're saying, what, he speaks for himself. Trent Horn's wife should be a higher tier than Trent Horn. I don't like Trent Horn's wife. Well, okay, wait, that's not fair. That's not fair. She's a woman. She can't be a high tier. Also, she posts online, not anymore, which is good. And I think her weird thing with calling some people out was really, really lame in her comedy videos. And I don't think that her comedy videos are funny. But I don't want to speak poorly of her. But she married Trent Horn, and if I have Trent Horn in D tier, I guess I should reference it really quickly. I have Trent Horn in D tier, and she's married to him, and she's a woman. I guess by process of elimination, she must then go into trash tier. I think that's probably only reasonable. Trade recovery? I don't like Laura Horn. Whoa. Not funny. You heard it here first. Your career is going down the tubes. Here, you know what? I'll even do it. 1 second. Give me a second. Laura Horn. One moment, everyone. We're getting there. We're getting there. Save image as. Laura Horn. Trash tier. All women are trash tier. Now, Laura, I don't actually dislike you more than your husband, but you're married to him and your woman, so you have to go lower. Sorry, Mr. Trent Horn. Catholic Answers blacklist treatment? Dude, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll find out that I could never get on the green list for Catholic Answers. See, that's really an endorsement. If you guys think it's good that I could not be on Catholic Answers, then that's an incentive for you to go and look at my Twitter, which is bigger than this. Mother Angelica S tier. I've heard complaints about her, and I think that's dumb. She's awesome, and she's based. They should have made her a saint before they made Carlo Acutis a saint. Boo. I feel like I'm talking to like 4 people, but if you guys are having a good time, and I'm having a good time. Although I haven't eaten dinner, guys. I started this at 6 and I got home at 5:30. I've been speaking to you for 1 hour and 52 minutes and 41 seconds. Okay, so next time we'll do a coal tier. It's actually 7. Where do you live that it could be 7? No, it's not. You are, but you can log off. We're just playing the game of trying to keep you on. Am I wasting my time, or are you guys having a good time? It's actually 7 people. 6. Oh, people watching it. Well, the only people commenting are Taffy, Phil Gonzalez, and Sede Picante, and it used to be K37, which was 4 people, but I think he went to bed. I scared one off. No, K37 is my best friend. He just had to go to bed. On my thing, for some reason, it says there's 119 people. You guys are all watching on YouTube. Let me go on to my own live stream. What is it on? And it's supposed to relate to. Whoa, that's not good. It says 30 people on X are watching, but the way X works, I don't think that's accurate. I have 2 reposts and 4 likes on X. So I guess that's probably good. Sede Picante just followed me. There you go. Look at that. Sede Picante followed me. That's nice of him. So he found me. Twitter says every impression is a viewer. Yeah, exactly. So I think anyone who's like looking at the little pink bar at the top is a viewer or something. It's really stupid. Twitter impressions are really, really, really inaccurate. It's kind of funny. My goal on Twitter has been to grow 10 followers a day. And so I was doing really, really good about that. And then like once when I was calling out James White and stuff like that, and he was reposting me, and I was like teaming up and making fun of Father or James White with Calvin Robinson, then that was going pretty well. And I was gaining a lot of followers, especially once he reposted me, and all the idiots what are they called? All the Calvinist idiots were all mad. But recently it's funny. I was dipping a lot in impressions. I was going from like 50,000 impressions a day with like 200 followers to like 80,000 and getting up there. And my followers were jumping as well, my new followers. And then as they started to drop, my new followers actually stayed relatively consistent. It was lower. It was around the 10 a day mark that I was aiming for. And then recently I've managed to get back up in the impressions, but the followers have not proportionally increased at all. So that hasn't been ideal. And now I've dropped below where I'm still at an average across I've only had my Twitter for a month and a half that I've been actively using it. And so I've gotten myself in basically 5 weeks up to like 350 or 360 followers. And at that rate, if I were to gain at that rate for the rest of the year, I would get to a couple thousand by the end of the year, but the rate slowed down a lot. So I think a lot of the people who would immediately follow me, like just by doing stupid stuff, probably already have. And so it's going to take a while for me to kind of break out of that audience barrier, I think. And building an audience on here should hopefully help. The Twitter should help to boost the Instagram not the Instagram, the YouTube, and the YouTube should help to boost the Twitter. Go back to the chat. I follow Phil. Glad I found this vid. It was good. Well, thank you, Taffy. I hope you subscribe. I hope you appreciate it. Thank you for watching and taking the time. I appreciate it. I saw Phil once, then I was filled forever. I don't know who that is. Phil, the prophecy. Okay. Well, not much is happening. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your night. And I will do a better job next time on putting out information about the stream before it goes out next time. Have a good rest of your night, guys.